This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the best all-in-one platform for all of your website building needs. Hey guys, it's Celestia, and can you believe it's been over a year since I, the angriest and most intolerant rant-addicted human alive, rambled about things I hate about art? Okay, yeah, one could argue that that's what my whole channel is, and one wouldn't be wrong either, but I mean in a specific video dedicated solely to that. Actually, one could also probably argue that that too is what a lot of my content is, but just, okay, let me live, I'm jaded and mad. Anyway, my point is that I haven't made a video ranting about my art-related pet peeves in an unacceptable amount of time, so that's exactly what I'm doing today. The last one was in 2023, when I made a video about 20 things that every artist hates, because I personally hate all of those things so vehemently that I was sure a large majority of artists would agree. And now it's finally time for a part 2, because breaking news, there are more. Whether it's infuriating things about making art or just being an artist in general, get ready to hear about why you should hate them if you don't already. But let me balance it out and talk about something I love first. The sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. See, you guys think I'm kidding or exaggerating, but I really do love them. Not only have they been supporting the channel for years and bringing hundreds of videos to life in the process, they're genuinely one of my favorite platforms to endorse because of just how much they can offer artists. I've been saying this forever and I don't intend to stop anytime soon. The most important thing for any artist is a beautiful, professional looking portfolio that displays their art in a way that really makes it shine. Because not even the best art looks professional without a portfolio that does. That's why Squarespace is such a legitimately important sponsor to me. They're my first recommendation for any artist looking to build theirs, because they make it so easy that it's genuinely fun. I made both my previous, more cutesy and branded portfolio and my current, revamped, more clean and professional one there, and their tools and templates were so extensive and effective that both were just as easy to make. Portfolios, though, aren't the only thing Squarespace can help you build. Any type of site you need, their massive library of templates will have perfect options for, and you can even turn any of them into online stores. They offer every tool you could possibly need to do so. The ability to manage payments and inventory, handle shipping and fulfillment, and even boost your SEO to help you get more eyes on your site and maximize the number of customers shopping there. It's perfect for selling merch and really any kind of physical good, but selling services is just as easy. Consultations, event management, editing, even art commissions, their tools make selling anything easy, with a streamlined workflow, built-in appointment scheduling, email marketing tools, and so much more. And your customers have just as many options as you do, because they offer all of the most popular payment methods like Klarna, ACH Direct Debit, Apple Pay, Afterpay, and ClearPay, and even allow you the option to send individualized branded invoices to specific clients, so you can accept orders from all around the world with just a few clicks. Whether you're an artist in need of a portfolio, an entrepreneur building an online store, a creator setting up an interactive blog, or a small business owner making a landing page, Squarespace is the place to do it. And you can find out yourself by going to squarespace.com to get your own free trial today. And once you've built the perfect site that you're ready to launch, you can get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain by going to squarespace.com/DuchessCelestia, linked in the description. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, and please go check them out. Alright, now let's get to the ranting, my one true passion. Number one on my list of things all artists hate based on the very sound logic that I do, when people lean over your shoulder while you're drawing and go, "Whoa, you drew that? You are literally watching me draw it. You are witnessing my hand create these lines, Kyle. Like, do you think I'm fucking Chris Angel, the world's specialist little mind freak, and this is all some kind of elaborate illusion designed to fool you into thinking I can draw a passable portrait of Inuyasha? Yes, I drew that. Obviously, this is fine if you're not actively drawing when it happens. If they just see a piece of art that you made and ask if you drew it in an incredulous tone, that both makes logical sense and is genuinely flattering. I suppose people asking this also get a pass if they're watching you color or render it, too. It's a distinct possibility at that point that someone else actually did draw it, and you're just using their art as a coloring sheet, so the question isn't unreasonable. But the number of times I've been literally just sketching something and had someone go, "Oh wow, did you draw that?" is appalling to me. I don't know if people just consider it to be rhetorical at this point and use it as a compliment, but it's so dumb and annoying, even if that is the case, that I've just started looking them dead in the eye and saying, no. Anyway, art pet peeve number 2. When you think you're using the lasso tool and you go to draw a circle around the area that you're trying to select, but you are in fact still using the pen tool, and now you've instead managed to draw a super great, giant, messy circle all over the whole piece. Now, it's entirely possible that this doesn't happen to everyone as often as it happens to me, and I just happen to be a dumbass. In fact, that's likely, but I do this on a near constant basis, and it drives me insane. Yes, I realize the undo button exists, and it takes a fraction of a second to fix this problem, and that being the case makes it fairly ridiculous for me to get this pissed off about it. But apparently I'm not letting that stop me from getting this pissed off about it. I probably wouldn't hate it nearly as much if I didn't put time lapses of all of my art in these videos, but I do, and those time lapses record every single one of those stupid, supposed to be lasso tool selection circles, recording what will always end up being public evidence of just how often I make this same mistake over and over. In fairness, I doubt many of you are paying that close of attention to the speed paints, if any, so I'd honestly be surprised if anyone noticed, but I notice. I notice, and that's enough, and I hate it. Number 3 is hearing what might be the singular most hated thing that you can say to an artist after complimenting their work. I can't even draw a stick man! This has somehow become the most omnipresent and borderline obligatory thing in the world to say when talking to any artist if you aren't one, and society has grievously wronged us by letting that happen. It's so common that at this point, I think a big part of the reason I hate hearing it so much is that I haven't been able to stop hearing it for my entire 27 years of life. The rest of the reason I hate hearing it is that it's not true. It takes an overwhelming amount of willpower and physical restraint not to just yell, "Oh my god, shut up, shut up. Yes, you can just pick up a pencil. Anyone can learn to draw, you just won't try." Okay, I know I said I was gonna get mad, but I'm getting too mad, so I'm moving on. The 4th most hated artist experience. When you have an idea for a piece of art, you spend a significant amount of time finding references for it, and it's only once you've gathered like 100 of them that you end up scrapping it instead. Whether it's because you don't like it anymore, you didn't end up having time to make it, or another more pressing idea or project came up instead, it's uniquely infuriating regardless. Maybe this is just a me thing because I get so excited the moment an idea occurs to me that I immediately start planning it before thinking through whether or not it's even that good of an idea to begin with. And that honestly wouldn't surprise me, but there has to be at least one of you listening that's equally overzealous and feels my pain. Suffer with me. Okay, next, number 5 is only for you traditional painters out there, but hopefully those of you who are will understand and share my hatred of it. When you're painting something based on a reference and you're trying to mix a very particular color from it that you physically just cannot get right. Oh, you're close? You've almost got it? You could just be reasonable and accept that close enough color. But no, now it's time to try to make it perfect because you're sure just one more drop of blue will do it, and now it's even further from what you wanted. And naturally, by the time you've finally gotten it right, you use it and realize you didn't mix enough of it, and now you're out, and you know you will never be able to mix more of it again. And you stare at the sky wondering why God hates you and whether or not you can get just a little more life out of the tiny amount of paint left on the palette if you mix your tears in. This is another one that could very well be just a me thing because I'm way too much of a perfectionist that refuses to just go with it and improvise, and I'm also incredibly imprecise when it comes to mixing paint, and it's entirely possible that people who actually do have the patience to be precise with it can get the color they want in like a minute. Well, I'm still over here staring at my palette like it, I don't know, burned down my house or stole my cat because oh my god, it's still not right, and now I've spent more time trying to mix this paint than I have actually painting. Anyway, the 6th art pet peeve is definitely more of a universally applicable one that I'm sure most, if not all of you have experienced. Hearing, "Oh my god, you're so talented," as a compliment. I've ranted about this on the channel a very non-zero number of times, and even made an entire video about why I hate it so much. But my hatred for it runs so deep that I'm listing it here too, since the amount of rage it elicits in me has earned it a place. I know I'm being a petty baby about this, and that people mean no harm with it, and genuinely just want to give a compliment and say a nice thing, and it's pretty categorically dickish to shit on that well-intentioned compliment. It's like being given $5 and then complaining that it's in loonies and toonies rather than a bill, which is a uniquely Canadian problem now that I say it out loud, and probably not one a lot of you relate to, so maybe not the best metaphor, but oh well, it's been made. My point is that it feels like such a nitpicky non-issue to get this pissed off about, and I should probably just shut up and take the compliment. And in fairness, that is what I do when I hear it. But none of that changes that internally I'm screaming, no, I'm not talented. If there is anything good about my art, it's because I worked incredibly hard to learn how to make it, not because I was born with the innate ability to draw without trying. What was it that Aaron Hansen said? Do you think I came out the pussy painting fucking Mozart? Yeah, that. I'm considering getting it tattooed on my forehead at this point. Alright, next up, the 7th thing every artist hates, or at least every traditional artist that works with markers, is when you finally finished inking your sketch, you manage not to mess anything up, the lines are perfect, and you're ready to color it. Maybe you even make some progress in coloring it, and it still looks good. It's actually turning out well. You almost like it. And then you whip out a new marker you just got that's the exact color you're looking for. And you forget to test it first because you're in the zone, and you find out just after your first unerasable strokes of it that it looks nothing like the color it's supposed to be. You needed a light sky blue, and that's exactly the color it said it was, and the color that was on the cap, and now your perfect piece of art that you were genuinely proud of has some dark-ass navy blue there instead for some reason, because the marker manufacturer is a monster. And okay, yes, it's on you for not testing it first, but there's still a unique rage that comes from a marker's ink looking nothing like it's advertised to, and it's just as strong whether you played a part in prompting this or not. Okay, number 8 might really be stretching the whole every artist artist hates it thing, because it technically couldn't exist if every artist hated it. It's a thing that artists do. But hear me out. Those posts where people are like, I'm X age, usually 12 or 13 or something similarly baby. Is my art good? I don't care how old you are. Let me take the most generous approach possible and assume you're including your age because you want to give a general indication of how long you've been drawing, so that the people you're asking can consider that when judging your skill. Saying your age doesn't do that. Someone who's 13 could have been drawing for the same amount of time as someone who's 30. Your age does absolutely nothing to communicate the amount of artistic experience you have. Putting that aside, the only reason to mention it anyway is to either deliberately and very obviously seek out, oh my god, you're so good for your age, compliments, or make people more gentle with their answers because they don't want to upset a kid and they're inclined to give you more leeway when it comes to your shortcomings because of your age. The first one is just egregiously annoying, and the second one, if you want people not to say anything critical about your art and you're using your age to make sure that they're more inclined not to, then why are you even asking for feedback if you don't want it to be honest? Just say you want validation at that point. Which brings me to number 9, another critique-based pet peeve with 2 sides to it. Side 1, when you ask for honest critique and just get a positivity echo chamber of, it's so great, with absolutely nothing constructive or helpful, and you have no idea if they actually see nothing wrong with it, or they do and they're just not saying it because they want to be nice. Side 2, another artist asks for honest critique and you give it, and it turns out that all they wanted was that echo chamber of positivity, and now they're mad that you pointed out something wrong instead of saying it's so great like everyone else. I'm doing a video soon on toxic positivity and how seeking critique has turned into another way to say, please indulge my addiction to validation, but it's a legitimate issue and also something that gets me increasingly heated every time I witness or experience it. Compared to a legitimate issue like that, this one is not that, but it's no less rage-inducing, at least for digital artists. The 10th pet peeve is when you're really, really into your art, you're making great progress, you're on a roll, and the last thing you want to do is stop, and you are stopped, either by that dreaded notification of Apple Pencil, battery low, 5% battery remaining, or by your computer forcing you to realize that your tablet pen has died because suddenly it's not responding to any of your strokes. Again, I get it, skill issue. Charge your shit regularly and this won't happen. But we're human, we're flawed, and sometimes we get distracted by the new Minecraft update and forget. User error does not diminish the burning anger induced by having your art process interrupted by a dead battery. Okay, number 11 is undeniably and openly just a me problem by very nature, but I'm including it because I feel like the basis for it is relatable even if the context isn't. The comments I get complaining about how many times I undo and redo the same lines over and over again. I have 2 things to say to you. 1, show me your time lapses and tell me I will see the exact same perfectionist behavior. If I really won't, only then do you get a pass to drag me for this. 2, you think you're annoyed by how often I undo and redo the same lines? All you have to do is watch it. I have to live it. I'm the one with the mental rubric of criteria for every line I draw that dictates that only the lines that score 5 out of 5 in every category get to stay. You know nothing of true suffering. Unless you do, and you probably do because I know I'm not the only one, which is why this is on the list, so shut up. Respectfully. Number 12 is an equally petty gripe, but nonetheless one that I'm sure many artists hate. The one thing all of us hear, the most dreaded compliment that all artists live to fear. You're such a good drawer. I don't think I need to explain this one. That is not a word. At least it's not a word that means artist, and if it ever was, it shouldn't be now. I am neither a part of a dresser nor half of a pair of underwear, but thank you so much. The 13th art pet peeve is one that's completely self-imposed and yet no less annoying. When you have so many brushes that you end up using none of them. I feel like it applies more to digital artists than traditional ones, but there's a basis for it in both mediums. There are a lot of really, really good free digital brushes online, especially for Procreate, and I have downloaded so many of them that I found myself pathologically incapable of using any of them. There are just so many to scroll through and so many brush packs that I forget the contents of. It's like I get choice overload or analysis paralysis or whatever it's called, just trying to figure out which brush is the right one for which thing, and I end up just using the same ones over and over again. In fairness, the ones I use over and over again are really good. They're from Jing Sketch, but I'd still like to use some of the other hundreds that I've downloaded when the situation calls for it, and I can't because I can't even remember which ones are which. It's less overwhelming when it comes to traditional art, but I still experience it, mostly because of hyperfocusing though. I have a lot of paintbrushes that I've collected over the years, and I also have a lot of DIY tools like cut-up toothbrushes, dollar store makeup brushes, and sponges, etc. And yet every single time I paint, I use 2. One big one and one small one. You know why? It's not because they're the only ones I need. It's not because they're the best ones for the job. It's because, as I mentioned in my recent Worst Art Tropes video, when I paint, I'm crouched over a canvas on the floor like a hypermobile spider playing Twister, with my face 1 inch from it in some kind of feral trance, and untangling myself from my inhuman positioning just to switch brushes just isn't worth the effort. So I work with 2. The one I'm using and the one I'm holding in my mouth like an animal till I need to switch and hold the other one in my mouth like an animal. The only exception exception I make is for foliage, where I will take the L and untangle myself to bring out the cut-up toothbrushes. I have a process, okay? It's not a good process, but it's mine. Anyway, onto the 14th hated art experience. When people claim art needs to have some deeper meaning to be good and legitimate. You know how there are like 100 memes about people being asked what their tattoos mean, and answering they mean that they look fucking cool? Why can't that attitude be applied to all art? Sometimes I just want to draw something that looks pretty because it looks pretty. Sometimes all I want to express is an appreciation for beauty. I get it, I do. Other times I want to vomit the traumas that left the deepest scars on my soul onto a canvas, and I know how valuable that meaning is to art, both for the artist and the viewer. But it's not necessary for art to be art. I can look at an art piece that screams that significant emotional meaning from the rooftops, and an art piece that's just visually gorgeous, and see value in both for different but often overlapping reasons. And I feel like most people can. So it's dumb as hell to me that there's this societal obsession with art needing to have meaning all the time. Comparatively, number 15 feels exceptionally inconsequential, but I stand by it. When people look at your works in progress at their most awkward, ugly stages without permission. Whether it's someone going through your sketchbook without asking, someone looking over your shoulder when you thought you were alone or they couldn't see, whatever, it doesn't matter. All artists know this. There are points in the creative process that look good. Points where you would actually want someone to look over your shoulder and see what you're drawing because you know they'd probably be impressed. There are significantly more points in the creative process that don't look good, where it's like that awkward growing pains middle stage that looks absolutely awful and you know that it has to look awful so it can eventually look good, but you would never want anyone to see it that way because while you can see what it'll be at the next stage, they can't, and you know they'll think it's shit. And that is somehow always the exact moment someone does find a way to see it, because life is a black abyss. Number 16, as is proving to be a recurring theme, might be something only I experience, but I guess we'll see. When you leave a sketch for too long, I feel like there are two kinds of artists. The ones who finish every piece at any cost before moving on to the next one, and artists who start a million pieces and then abandon them after sketching them to finish some other time. I've been the former for my entire life, but an incredibly busy schedule has forced me to slowly but surely turn into the latter, and it's had consequences. It means I'll finish 20 sketches to line and color later, and the problem isn't that I won't finish them. I will. The problem is that when I finally find time to finish them later, it will have been so long that I'll have improved enough in the time since I made the sketch that that sketch is no longer of an acceptable quality to me. I've grown enough as an artist since I made it that all I can see now are mistakes, and now I basically have to re-sketch it all over again to fix them. But then a new thing comes up and I have to work on that instead, and then another thing, and then a year passes and I've grown more as an artist and I finally have time to finish that new and improved sketch again. And now all I see are more mistakes, and now I have to re-sketch it again to fix them. And then, oh, something else came up. I'm sure the cycle won't repeat when I get back to it next year. Alright, when it comes to number 17, I honestly don't know how many people will find it relatable because I have a weird body, and I don't know how many other people have weird bodies. But okay, let me explain. I've had a lot of my art face the criticism of this anatomy is wrong because bodies don't look like that, and it will have been directly based on a reference photo I took of my own body. And when I've received these criticisms, what I did afterwards was overlay it directly onto the art to check the accuracy, only to find that, indeed, the art is an accurate reflection of how my body looked. I'm bony. I'm underweight as a result of a health condition, meaning my body doesn't necessarily look like most people's. It is, however, the only body that I can position into art reference positions like a doll, because it's the one I happen to live in. So I take what I can get. Hearing your art based on your own body doesn't look like a real body is just a weirdly hurtful experience. I don't know. I complained about this once before and had someone comment that it's not anyone else's fault that I'm part skeleton, so I'm not expecting sympathy, I guess. Maybe, however, there are other physically abnormal artists listening, and you'll get it and feel vaguely less freakish. Anyway, moving on to number 18. Okay, POV. You just drew the most anatomically accurate, perfect human body. The complicated, difficult, awkward position their hand was in, you nailed it. Somehow, it actually looks good. Next step, give that subject clothes, and the clothes cover the hand. And all of the effort that you put into making that impossibly perfect hand is for absolutely f***ing nothing. You know that technically speaking, it's not. The form of their hand, obscured by clothing as it may be, is more correct because you bothered to draw what was underneath it. But that doesn't change that you would probably pay many dollars for one singular other human being to see how good it was before you had to hide it. Same goes for drawing the perfect background, only to have some of your favorite parts of it hidden by the characters that you have to add to it. Even clothing folds. Sometimes you'll draw the most exquisitely perfect fabric physics on a character's sweater, and then when it comes time to render the piece, 90% of them have to be obscured by shadow shadow to fit into the lighting scheme of the piece. Regardless of the scenario, you know the piece as a whole is better off because those details that you were so proud of were obscured. It doesn't make it less infuriating that they looked so good that you hated obscuring them. I have so many years worth of frustration built up about that one that I could go on forever though. So before I do, let's move on to number 19, hyperfocus. Again, but different this time. When you're so zoomed in on the details of something that you're drawing that on a microscopic level, it is immaculate. It looks exactly like you want it to. It's a masterpiece. God would cry at its glory. And then you zoom out and realize that you were so caught up in the details that you didn't notice the entire form was wrong. The thing the details are on is in the wrong position, or maybe the whole composition itself is off. And now you have to scrap all of those details to redo the structure itself. You painted a masterpiece on a wall of a house with a shitty foundation, and now you have to tear the whole thing down. I am massively grateful to say I am finally at a point in my artistic growth where I haven't experienced this in years, but that's only because I experienced it so many times before that I had to become incredibly diligent in avoiding it and restructure my creative process to focus on shapes before details, which, okay, if you also live in a neurotic brain that has a very specific order of doing things, you understand that knowing that the way you do things is wrong doesn't make it feel any less necessary. It wasn't easy. I'm better for it, having made that change, and I've finally escaped this pet peeve, but it was so difficult that I'm experiencing aftershocks of needing to rant about it retroactively. Okay, 8 pages into the script and I'm finally getting to the last one, shocking no one that my capacity for inordinate rage is larger than my capacity for good sense and restraint. Number 20. When you draw a hand or foot absolutely perfectly, exactly as it looks in reality, to the point where it may as well be photorealistic, and it looks awful. It looks fundamentally wrong in every way. It looks like an eldritch abomination tried to imitate a human body part and failed. And it's not because you messed it up. It's because hands and feet are so fucking weird that 90% of the time their actual positioning in reality makes them look uncannily strange. Wiggle your fingers and toes enough and you'll see within seconds that if you drew them how they looked just then, they would look so wrong that everyone in the world would think that you drew them wrong even if you drew them exactly how they looked. Same goes for the foreshortening of limbs. The human body is weird and awkward and beautiful and then weird again, and certain angles just make it look like a monstrosity sometimes. Drawing it accurately sometimes means capturing it looking like a monstrosity, only to realize you're gonna have to reposition it to look better. Not because you drew it wrong, but because it just actually does look wrong like that. But I think I've ranted for long enough. 20 art pet peeves may not be enough to satisfy my ranting needs emotionally speaking, but it's certainly pushing the limits of video length. If you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments, because God knows I have more if you want to hear them. Please also let me know if you agreed or disagreed, because it's also good to know if I'm being neurotic and deranged or other people actually do share my art issues. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Special thank you as always to channel members Joseph Solomon, TC Pratt, Haruki Saluzzo, Peachy, King Good James, Art of Amethyst Fable, Extinction Animation, Andy the Hedgehog, Kai the Memer, Jazz, Just Sayori, Stardust, and Angry Shroomish, as well as patrons Batman, Kyle Lowe, Blue Swanson, Jamisha Walker, Alengshi, Kim Yen, Crazy Asar, Gentong, Grace Nick Xavier, Blamage, TC Pratt, Finn, Celine Merriman, Eldritchia, The Stray Dog, Ulura, Greg Noble, Decagon, Jenny Chan, Catbus, Mac, Lucy Yamajiki, Selena Bibi, Pryday, Totally Shogun, Insomniac Sleep Schedule, Wing-Tang Wong, Marie Greer, Potato, Jazz, Voidwalker, Latte Tabby, Christian Cook, Adam Surovietz, Doriaki, Varius, Hailstorm, Emo Queen Jules, Lord Darkholder, Show, that's it, and Craig, and I'll see you in the next one.